Hello everyone, and welcome to this new Mystery Stress, where we will see together the incredible story of the medium painter Augustus the Wise. It all began in 1911 in the Nord-Pas-de-Calais. Augustus has been a miner since his young age. He doesn't come from a very wealthy family, so he never took drawing classes or painting classes. However, what will happen to him on March 1st, 1911 will completely change his life. Auguste was working in the mine as usual. When passing through a very dark tunnel, he begins to hear voices. These voices tell him that he better buy brushes and stars to start painting. Thinking that this is just a joke from his colleagues, Auguste is not going to pay attention, except that shortly after, the voices will return to order him to buy brushes and stars and start painting. They will even go so far as to explain to him that they have chosen him as pen holder. Troubled by what will happen to him, Auguste is not going to tell anyone about it. He will remain silent for several days, except that the ways will manifest themselves again. They will clearly explain to him that he is not made to be a miner, but rather to be a recognized and very famous painter. The tracks even go so far as to give him the exact references of brushes and canvases that he'd better buy after a while. Augustus will therefore obey these channels and order all the material they have asked of him, because when he will receive his order, there will be an error. He had originally ordered a modest canvas of 30 cm by 30 cm, and we have just delivered a huge canvas of 3 mm by 3 m like he has never painted before. So, naturally he's going to want to start cutting this canvas, except that before he can do anything, the voices will appear again to explain to him that he must not cut the canvas. And they will even guide him so that he can paint this canvas in its entirety. The miner, guided by his voices, will then paint the entire canvas, then will even go so far as to paint many pictures with incredible meticulousness. And the strangest thing is that he himself cannot explain how he manages to do his works so successfully. He will simply say that he is guided by the voices and even that she takes possession of his hand so that he can paint. He will even explain that sometimes the voices he hears turn out to be very famous characters, such as Leonardo da Vinci. It was not long before the fame of the essay spread around the world, and this fame will therefore reveal the skeptics. Many will accuse him of cheating, so it was in 1927 that scientists decided to put him to work and invited him to participate in an experiment to prove that it was not a scam and that voices guided him to paint his works. In an experiment, he painted in public in complete darkness, observed by scientists and art historians. Despite skepticism, Augustus created an incredible painting in near darkness, stunning everyone present. In 1938, Augustus the Wise will again surprise minds. Fascinated by ancient Egypt, he then painted a painting which he named Egyptian Harvest Scene. And only a few months later, archaeologists will discover a very old fresco that looks very similar to his painting. But it will not be the only painting of his career that has similarities with archaeological discoveries. On another of his paintings, he had painted everything in a truck just weeks before his grave was discovered. When he died in 1954, he left behind more than 800 paintings, with equally intriguing messages that have never been deciphered yet. His work is now recognized throughout the world, and the sale of this painting still reaches astronomical sums today. The artist's talent, meanwhile, will remain forever inexplicable. It all started in January 2001, when Toby's Maju was in his bathroom and suddenly felt a severe pain in his head. He will then suffer a stroke. He collapses to the ground, but manages to stay conscious and call his wife Jeanne. She will then take him to the hospital so that he can quickly take care of him. It will take some time, but the doctors will be able to calm his brain pain. Back home, his wife will notice that Toby begins to behave very strange behavior. She will often find him sitting in the middle of a room, drawing on the floor or drawing on the walls. Usually he would draw faces, and those faces were all different and even looked like aliens. Worried, she will then start chatting with him, and she would pretend to be in contact with strange characters. But even though it's already starting to scare her, unfortunately for her, it's just the beginning. Because shortly after, it was the escalation, and he drew more and more. He then covered the house from floor to ceiling with his drawings, day and night. And painting will become his incredible obsession. He says that for him, he manages to paint his paintings by receiving flashes directly in his head. Once these images appeared, he would have an irrepressible urge to reproduce them, and until he reproduced them, they would not go away. His wife explains that he behaves very strangely when he wants to paint a picture, but when he finishes this painting, everything goes back to normal, and he regains his composure. Before his accident, Toby was a bricklayer and had never taken painting classes. He even explains that the painting didn't interest him at all, and that he wasn't even interested in the tree. For doctors, this is even stranger, because usually, as a result of a stroke, there is a deficit that is created as a result of the injury. Normally, this could lead to language disorders, difficulties moving, or even recognizing faces, for example. But here, in his case, the fact that he developed artistic qualities right after his accident is very strange, even unique to doctors. The odds would be extremely low for Toby, even if he doesn't really understand what's happening to him and how it's possible that he manages to do all this. He explains that ultimately, anyone can do it, and it just takes a little trigger in itself. And even though the advances today are enormous in terms of technology to do analyses of what is going on in the brain, it is still impossible to determine how he would have managed to obtain faculties that he did not know before. His abilities will remain a mystery for a long time. Gasparetto's incredible talent is said to have appeared in 1962, when he was only 13 years old. Having never taken painting classes in his life, nor even been attracted to art, it will then happen to him a very strange phenomenon. Toby would enter a trance-like state to create masterful paintings. Legend claims he contacted great masters through his paintings. Within years, he revolutionized painting by accessing secrets of the world's greatest artists. In an old interview, Toby struggled to explain the phenomenon, claiming he didn't decide when or what to paint, but that the voices came to him. Several researchers in different fields, and in particular mediums, will go to meet him to try to better understand what can happen to him. Many of them report that he would be haunted by entities of well-known painters, and that it would be through his body that these painters would try to express themselves. Gasparetto would only agree to lend his body to his entities, so that she could express herself through him. Throughout his life, several experiments will be conducted, and the strangest is when Gasparetto is not in a trance. He can't even hold a brush, and doesn't leave very well. Angeline would come to him only when he manages to get in touch with his entraille, and he goes into a kind of trance. He would start painting in an unusual state. The more time goes on, the bigger his heel, and he is increasingly considered mysterious, because no one can really understand how he does it. And when he comes back in a trance, the paintings he manages to make are truly extraordinary. For some, the fact that he returns to a trance, and that he would no longer be master of his body, would allow his consciousness to return to a kind of higher state. It would give him the opportunity to reconnect with his spirits. But faced with such a phenomenon, most experts are unable to give rational explanations, and many signature authentication experts have studied these tables. Gasparetto's signature was indistinguishable from the real painters. Over time, his trances grew stronger. In different experiments, he painted multiple canvases simultaneously, upside down, with both hands, blindfolded, or with his feet. For most experts, his talent is limitless. They were spirits that possessed his body. His spirits would be able to use any part of his body, be it his hands or his feet. His body would be a simple instrument, allowing his spirits to reincarnate and be able to express themselves for a short moment or to complete their work. These works could also be hidden messages to explain to us that there is actually another truth, maybe a little more complex after death, and that for some, he would still be alive. But somewhere else during his life, Gasparetto will devote the majority of his time to psychology. He is not even expensive to exploit his talent to earn money despite his own. And talent will not sell his paintings and never wanted to become a professional painter. We may never know the truth about this incredible mystery. That's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to tell me in the comments, and if you have other topics like that you want me to trade in my next videos. If you are interested in mediums or painters, you can go see my other episodes. You can like, share and subscribe, and see you in a future video. It was Quick on Fire, peace out.